Hey guys, Domenic here from Wealthy. This is the podcast dedicated to giving you tools, tips, and the mindset needed to set you financially free. Today, I'm very, very excited. It is our first powerful woman after 25 or so episodes. Crazy. Christina is one of Australia's leading experts on success, belief, conviction, and commitment. For over 25 years, she has walked an extraordinary path. Running businesses, you're a mother of two, you have your own home in the beautiful Sunshine Coast. You're completely unencumbered by debt, mind you. Christina is the leader or founder of the Leading Women, a series of transformational programs and events energizing women from all walks of life to achieve sustainable success and empowerment. Christina is also a partner of the Thought Leaders Global, an international educational company obsessed with helping clever people in organizations be commercially savvy. How can you actually make the most of what you've gotten up in here? Where we actually met Christina is over the lunchroom over here. She's written 2 books, How to Have It All and True Believers. So without further ado, thank you very much for coming on our podcast.
You're very welcome. It was funny, when I first met you, and we were talking about what your business is, and you said Wealthy, and the business and the work that you do, and I went, and we started chatting straight up, didn't we? Mm-hmm. About money and wealth and the mindsets around it. So thanks so much for the opportunity to share.
No, I really, it's great having you on the show because the way I understand you and your book, it's more than. We're like-minded. The way that we see wealth is more than just financial. It's about owning your own time. It's about appreciating the things that you have around you, having physical health as well as your financial freedoms. But before we jump into that, I want to just ask a little bit about your story. I've read your bios. We've got a brief conversation. It sounds like you've had quite a journey. Running your own businesses, being a high executive, writing these books. Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, thanks. Look, I started in retail, actually, and started with my department stores. And, big institutions, how they're very structured, and there's lots of, they've had a lot of experience in different areas. So I started off as a customer service manager in Myer, and I started to get a little bit of a taste and a feel for leadership and for sales and for people marketing. So it was a bit of a one-stop shop, when you win such a big organisation. So I was leading the jewellery department actually, and I think I was 21, and I had something like 30 staff that I was looking after. So I kind of always started young, I guess. One particular person that has influenced me a lot in my life is my dad, because he's Greek, he's an immigrant, came out, and like a lot of immigrants, work hard to build up what they've got, and he was a man. He's still alive, by the way. He's in his 70s. Really has a great value around taking ownership and responsibility, and so he taught me at a really early age not to kind of make excuses and to actually really just take ownership and to actually really stay out of drama. So I think that was some of the sort of great lessons that I learned. So as I went forth in my career, Dad kind of looked at me, and he had his real estate business. So he started, when he came out from Greece, he started saving up, clearly, and then he started buying and selling houses, which is incredible, with his brother, and my dad's Arthur Connius. And he started doing that, and then he started buying real estate offices and owning those. And so he tapped me on the shoulder after 7 years in retail and said, "Come on, you're coming to real estate." And I said, "Am I?" And he said, "Yeah, you are." So I've sat in every seat in the real estate office, from a property management to sales to managing my own office and my own team. So that's been my career. I mean, real estate has been, it's negotiation, it's communication, it's people, it's the whole lot. So, and throughout that time, me and my former husband, I had a 29-year great relationship, but we finished that about 5 years ago. One of those kind of very interesting amicable finishes, but gifted each other the rest of our lives. So, but throughout that time in my relationship, in my marriage, we basically had me at work earning the dollars in real estate, because we were a very successful office, and we earned good money there. Great team, a leader's only as good as a great team. Mm-hmm. And so I was peeling off money. I actually remember days that it would be payday as such, and and I'd walk to the bank and I'd ring my phone and say, I've just paid 30 grand off the, that mortgage or that mortgage, because we had a few developments and things. So so for me, I had these lovely layers, I guess, of kind of great father that set me some sort of strong take ownership piece, and then to being involved in a big organisation that taught me stuff, and then being able to go into real estate, learning about property from different views. From being a property investor myself, small property investor, but someone that doing it for ourselves. When I say small, we did a lot with principal places ourselves, so that was one of the things that we kind of did. We always
flipping your own home.
Yeah, we always built, we built, or we halved, or all that sort of stuff that you do. And so then I went. I woke up sort of one day in 2011. After being in real estate 15 years, and I said, you know what, I think there's something next for me. And so I had a lot of, particularly women in real estate, approaching me, Dom, and saying, hey, how do you kind of work 5 days a week only when all of us are working 7 days, right? How come you take good holidays? You've got you've got 4 or 5 properties that you're always doing stuff. And I went, I haven't really thought about how I did. I just do it. You don't really. And then sure enough, it sort of coincided with me, this transition period. So I finished my real estate career and I started building a business as a thought leader. A thought leader is just someone that's known for what they know. So it's someone that sort of unpacks their thinking. I guess we kind of extract our expertise from our life experiences, right?
Certainly.
And then I started kind of creating these messages, which then has become a very, very fulfilling business. I'm really, really grateful for, the people that you meet along the way that inspire you to sort of make these courageous changes, right?
Certainly.
Because leaving a beautiful father that had a plan or a legacy that I was going to take over the business one day, really was a challenge for him. It was had to be courageous for me. I remember when I quit my real estate career, I remember the day. I did have 4 mortgages. I was the only breadwinner in my family, so I was the one that was funding, and my former husband was basically project managing the properties, etc. So I had the mortgages. I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I just knew that it was time for me to change and to move through and to start learning. So I just started educating myself through Thought Leaders, which is an educational company, on how to become a successful mentor, speaker, author. So I talk a lot. So that was
that was good.
That was a really long answer.
Let me unpack some of that. Let me unpack it all, because that was a big story. I said, give me the story, and you gave all of it to me.
I'm 51 years old now, Dom, and so there's a lot to do. That's 5 decades.
And you're only just starting. So what I really heard there, and I can understand why you would now become a thought leader, because. And no disrespect to other people in that industry, but you can't be a thought leader unless you've had a wealth of experience. So you're a young woman, 21, running 30 people staff in a massive organization, transition into real estate. That's a change of all of your daily habits, new skill sets, new licenses, new everything, new industry. You dominated that space. You ran a successful agency, you grew a family, had multiple developments that you were running. And then after a while of running this organization for a long, long time, most people would say, hey, I've reached it. This is my success. I'm going to keep on doing this, and sort of go into a bit of a fixed mindset. It would be incredibly difficult to then switch out of that and say, I'm going to do something entirely different again. And I think one of the most courageous things that people can do out there is have a look at what they're doing now and then jump out of that comfort zone. Yeah. Being okay with sacrificing something good to go after something that's great. Yeah. So I commend you on that. That's incredible. And it's great that you're able to share that story, because I'm sure there's many women that are sitting out there in particular that are successful in their own right, but don't feel fulfilled, and there's something more out there that they want to go and chase. Now, if I may, I want to ask you a couple more questions. So one thing that came to me when reading your book or going through your book, I had to, when it caught up yesterday, so I had to read very quickly, How to Have It All. Tell me a little bit about work-life balance. Do you believe it's an actual thing? And let me preface this before you answer the question immediately, because I have a philosophy on work-life balance, and I think that there'll be a time where you work really hard and then you can actually come back off and then and ease off a little bit. And work-life balance doesn't necessarily mean that in one given week you have to have the perfect relationship between work and balance and home, and it might be over a month that you have work-life balance. Or love to hear your thoughts.
It's such a great topic of discussion. I think if we went one level higher and said, well, what does success look like? Because I think you're right. I mean, look at all the statistics around mental health these days, and with the World Health Organization, talking about the debilitating effects of mental illness on people, and so something's kind of not working right. There is, I would talk a lot about the quality of a lot of our lives. When you look at the facilities or things are getting better, like our institutions, our technology, etc., is getting better, but actually often the quality of life is going down. So when you look at what does success mean to people, I think what's happened over time, Domenic, is that people have kind of climbed up this ladder and not really thought too much before the climb of what they really want. And so for me, when you answer your question about work-life balance, it's about really deciding a lot of the time along the way, stopping and pausing and taking a stock take or a look at your life and going, you know what, is this what I want next? Instead of just going, because you see your values change. Like the value of a young person when I was 21 is this, and I've raised 2 children. I've got a 23-year-old and a 21-year-old, and so you go in those different areas of your life. You would have come across a lot of your clients, a lot of people that have kind of work in decades often, and so. For me, when I wrote How to Have It All, the whole premise around the book is around delivering on the promises that you make to yourself, and also that's around your values. So asking yourself, I write a lot about values, I talk a lot about values, is, what do you truly value in your life, around potentially your health, around your wealth, and around your relationships, and getting really clear on those. And really, instead of just goals, so I'm a little bit of I'll kind of throw some stones at the old idea of goals. You got to throw stones at something in a good business, right? But I'd prefer to talk about values. And so might want to. I mean, how many people want to lose weight? You want to lose. And when they talk, they want to lose weight, but they can't lose the weight. So when you get right underneath the why, wanting to lose weight. So, I'm pretty passionate, as you can see, about really getting kind of underneath the skin of people to say, what do you really want, but why do you really want it in those areas? So for me, work-life balance is about having a really healthy combination of work, rest, and play. So when I look at my calendars, I teach people how to kind of color code calendars, how to plan the year ahead, and to actually look at, okay, so it doesn't mean that you're going to have work, rest, and play, all in the same day. Some days you won't have hopefully you'll always have the rest, but, the work and the play won't necessarily happen, but you'll kind of chunk out time. I mean, I'm pretty passionate about helping people to get their dollars up, and their hours down. So to me, that's balance. And so how do we, and I mean, you're all about this too, how do we maximize our wealth so that, and essentially also, how can we earn enough money that money gets out of the way?
Well, that's the premise behind the whole business. How does your passive income exceed your expenses?
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Own your time.
Well, that's why we're talking.
Yeah.
It's and you can hear my voice. My middle name should have been Conviction. I get excited about these things. That's why I love talking with you. And so for me, it's about people can just go, and you know what? Let's face it. There's a lot of the drivers can be ego. So, so ego can eat you up alive, and a lot of life lessons can teach us a lot of things, can bring us down a few pegs. I've been brought down a few pegs in my lifetime.
Certainly.
But what I've seen is that, women are much more likely to die in poverty, to live and die in poverty. And so what you'll find is overall women don't have as big ego. But what we've got to do with women, I'm passionate about as a CEO of Leading Women, is help women to actually see what's possible. I know that you asked me, what's a particular book that I love to recommend, and it might just
You're jumping ahead of the questions.
Yeah, I absolutely are. But at this point, I just want to just say, while I'm talking just on
Please
this
do, yes.
I get so excited, is that there's a wonderful woman that I met called Lisa Barber, and she's with Hill Ross, and she's a financial advisor, and we worked together a little bit on her first book, and it's called A Woman's Guide to Wealth. Incredible woman. But what she's shared with us, and she's spoken at some of my Leading Women events, is when her father was only 49, he passed away when she was a young girl and left her mum with no clue how to pay the bills, no clue how to manage finances. It's very, very common, And you know what? We're only just seeing the last, a couple of decades of women starting to be a bit more empowered. And so, but women are really behind the eight ball generally in financial intelligence. And so I love women like Lisa Barber.
May I ask you, why do you think that is? Why do you think that there are so many women that feel disenfranchised or not confident or for one reason or another don't step into that role? Is it a legacy feeling where it was, the old school man was the breadwinner, went out, and then it's like, old habits that you pick up from your mum back in the day that was traditionally at home cooking and cleaning?
I think it's a lot of that. When you look at the home economics journals from the 1950s, right? So when you look at, that's our parents. So this current generation where you and I are hanging about is that when you look at our parents, we're coming from parents that had, most cases had a traditional role. So home economics says that, when the husband comes home to make sure that, I was reading it the other day, having a little bit of a smile actually, making sure that, you're quiet, that you don't disturb him, that the dinner is ready, and all of that sort of stuff. And I go, okay, very old fashioned, my beautiful mum, who's a very intelligent woman and an incredible woman, she's chosen, she's in her 70s, to work in the home. So what she knows is how to be an incredible mum, incredible homekeeper, etc. So that what happens is a lot of women, so my generation now, so women that are in their sort of 40s to sort of 60 mark, is that this is new ground for us. It's new ground for the men too in association with us. So we're learning. But at the end of all of my events, I say to the women, look, you've got the glass ceiling, and a lot of women have been trying to break through and smash through that glass ceiling. And what's not working is a lot of women are cutting themselves. They're getting smashed up. There's so much passion and energy, and we do want to break through those glass ceilings. Don't get me wrong. I'm very passionate about helping that. What I really like to work on with women is to get off the sticky floor. So to get off the floor that keeps them stuck, that maybe allows them to not take responsibility, to make excuses, to stay into drama, and to actually take responsibility so that then they can go. And that is when we create more and more powerful leaders and women that aren't living and dying in poverty.
So is that then, that comes down to limiting beliefs? Is that where people getting off the sticky floor, the previous generations not knowing that they could go after that or start jumping up and going and earning more money and having financial control? So is that part of, people having, or women having, limiting beliefs around what they can earn and what they can do and what they can strive for?
Yeah. It is partly, in some cases, yes. It's also environment. Like for instance, if you look in Australia, there's still a huge gender pay gap. There's a huge gap. And so all these things mean that historically women have not been able to achieve because the environment hasn't been right. I mean, I know that I'm a big advocate of having more female speakers on conference circuits. So there's a whole bunch of really cool men that I work with that actually went through a phase that they were actually boycotting speaking at conferences unless there was 50% women turning up. So what it is it's about, historically women have not been heard as much, and so now it is the voice. I'm really passionate though on women having a strong voice but also a loving voice. And so I think that women have such a beautiful feminine power, and I want women to stay in their power but also be able to be vulnerable. And it's also helping men to understand how do you handle women like me that are strong, successful women, but how do you, because there's a lot of belief that that sometimes women, as they're starting to be empowered, are not as approachable, etc. And there's a lot of stuff. They say it's going to take another 100 years at least for us to get that equality piece. We're just about to go into International Women's Day, and so when I speak at an event on that day, it's just making people just a little bit more aware. There's a lot of fantastic male champions out there.
That's interesting that you say that, because I read a little bit in this space where many women feel that they need to have that masculinity in order to break the ceiling, to go forward, to be leaders, when really it's, yes, there is a masculine energy that you need to get to these places, that almost testosterone or that aggression, but it's that feminine energy that makes you so powerful. The empathy, the ability to sort of relate. I mean, that's what makes, in my mind, and I don't want to be sexist or anything, but what makes women so special and interesting and unique is that from even such a young age that you're able to empathize far better than men are.
100%. I think there's a whole world of education happening at the moment where we're starting to understand how men and women particularly operate, and how to better work together. And equality is not necessarily saying that we're the same. So equality,
certainly not.
We are absolutely not the same. So I love what you've said. It's so true. Is that men have the feminine power as well as the masculine power. Women have the feminine and masculine. So I'm really, really passionate about helping women to get that right. To allow them to have what I call peace and power. So that combination of peace and power, and that is all part of the wealth mindsets that we want to have. To develop that great life.
Well, let me ask you a couple more tools and tactics here, if I will. Because we've spoken a little esoterically, which has been great, but I want to see if people listening to this can walk away with some very specific things that they can use. Now, what I got from your book in How to Have It All is there are a few main chapters in there that I found particularly interesting. You speak about taking responsibility. So taking stock, as I understood, taking stock of your current life, being aware of what's happening, accepting where you are, and then making some decisions about going forward.
Absolutely, it's a big one. A lot of my stuff is all about having that excuse-free mantra. I mean, look, Bronnie Ware, a palliative nurse that worked with those that were at the end of their lives, and she listened to them and listened to the most common thing that we say at the end of our life. And so, you want to hear this. You want to know, what are the most likely thing that people say at the end of their life is, I wish I had the courage to live the life that I wanted, not what others expected of me. So for me, in my work and my beliefs are that if we can have people really take responsibility for what they want and try to adopt this excuse-free mantra, this excuse-free way of life. Again, I thank my dad for putting that energy out there. So I guess it's become my core as a mentor. So, you know what, and I think great business people, great leaders, they would never ask someone to do something or be something unless they're really aligned with those values. And for me, the reason why I believe that I have been successful in my life is because I have adopted that. So it's about then us as leaders to be able to not being a persecutor and not being a rescuer. So women can be really, really good at rescuing. So we're natural nurturers. We want to help you. We want to save the world. Mm-hmm. But the reason why women are less likely to have that wealth, or have been less likely, is that they will give their own shirt off their back, and that's important. But it is the oxygen mask, is that we have to make sure that we support ourselves and make sure that we're right. I say, because I've been in sales for 30 years, for men and women, the first sale is always to yourself. So the ultimate in responsibility is to look after yourself really, really well. Your mental, physical, spiritual, financial wealth and health is to make sure you look after that.
I love that metaphor that you just used, because I actually use it very often, that when you sit on a plane and they take you through the security, they say, before you go and look after your kids, put your mask on yourself, because then you're better equipped to look after everyone else around you. Yeah. So I think taking stock and responsibility and have a very clear understanding of what your powers are, what your weaknesses are, understanding what you can do and what you can control, keeping out of bullshit, excuse the French.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're going to get weighed down with a lot of crap. Yeah. It gives you so much more power and liberates you to actually go out and be powerful. Can you tell me a little bit about finding clarity?
Oh, that's a beautiful one. So it's almost like, Domenic, if there was a ladder, and if the foundation of success, and you know what, and success is happiness, is living by your values. Actually, to me, success is peace, joy, love, and freedom. Mm-hmm. Those four. If you are peaceful, if you are joyful, if you have love in your life, and self-love, essentially, and this is for men and women. This is not just about women. This is men and women, and freedom, of course. But clarity is really about knowing what your values are and being really clear that you are aligned. So I think that a human will think things, will speak things, and will act out things. And I think that if we can really start thinking about what we value and get it into our heart, and then to actually start walking out talk and actually going through there like that. So a lot of the work that I do for myself and for my kids, my family, and that is help people and my clients is to actually go, what do you really value in all the areas? And so that can cause people to then leave relationships, to leave current workplaces, to leave businesses, to change in health practices. And so when we get right underneath, and so very often, so someone says that they want to give, I've had clients that have, men and women that have addictions to alcohol, addictions to drugs, and they have, have worked so hard over their lifetime to try and give up those things that are going to affect their health, wealth, and relationships. And so sometimes all we've got to do is get right underneath and find the whys for this work, and then to help people to be accountable for those and to stick with it. And you know what? We need support, right? My second book called True Believers is about having the support. We've all had non-believers around us, and we've been non-believer in our own life. But to have clarity around your values, sometimes we just need the right people, around us. And so, sometimes to live by your values, you have to leave a current situation. And I've certainly done that a few times in my lifetime to take that to the next level, so that I'm living with people that are like-minded or working with like-minded, similar people with values.
That's a really interesting point. As you're talking, I was being drawn to different experiences in my own life and readings and people that I admire. One person, Simon Sinek, if anyone's out there, listen to his podcast and read his book. It starts with why, I think it is. He talks about finding your why. What is it that's driving you? And that's getting very, very clear on that and understanding what it is that's driving all of your decisions and behaviors will help you actually build wealth. It'll help you go and lose weight. It'll help you be a better version of yourself. Yeah. Then as you were talking, there was another interesting thing, because if you're starting to work in alignment with your values, you understand what your why is, and you're speaking your truth, and you're speaking the things that you want to bring into fruition, this is a scientific term, but we all have a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, which sounds like you're familiar with. And it's basically the pattern recognition part of your brain. So if you sit with a friend and they say, hey, I just bought a Mini, and you start seeing Mini cars everywhere, or you're aware of wanting to watch a movie and you start seeing it everywhere, it's your brain bringing into fruition, this is important to you, pay attention out there for this particular thing. So as you're saying, if you become very aligned with your why, understand your values, start speaking your truth, suddenly you start looking for things and ways, and your brain subconsciously is saying, where are the paths for me to achieve what we're visualizing or what we're trying to go out there and look for?
Yeah, you're totally right. And the old saying, what you focus on grows. And once that starts happening, and you can really go deep into that, so whatever that area of your life is. And no, you're totally right. But it is, having the right people, the right environment around you is also a really, really important piece. Just to support whatever it is that your values are and what you're going for. Yeah.
Well, you're right, because if you are speaking that, and that's the reason why she brought it up, thank you for reminding me, is that by having that vision, you'll recruit people around you. I can't achieve all this by myself. Yeah. Neither can you. You've got Amy that supports you. Tony's here in the room helping us out with putting all this together. Peter's upstairs. We've got Connie. There's all these people around us here to support, this vision and bring it forward and bring it to life. Yeah. Now, there was two interesting things that I came across. You talk about productivity and then purpose. Productivity is quite literally how to get things done.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit obsessed with productivity. So it may have been, when I was in real estate, for instance, you're working, you're juggling a lot, right? Mentally, sometimes financially, got kids going to private schools, all of that. You're looking after properties, looking after, all sorts of things. And so you can be really pulled, mentally, physically, all of that. And so I think what happened in my life is I got obsessed with trying to really stack time and leverage time. then when I then started to unpack that, when I wrote How to Have It All, and I talk about 10 really important productivity tools, is that's it. So that if responsibility is a foundation, and then getting really clear on what you value, a lot of people then fail at the how, which is the productivity, which is getting stuff done. And so probably my biggest tip, actually I'll give you 2 top tips on productivity. And so number one, I've already mentioned, and I'm really passionate about this, is stay out of drama. I've actually got a personal value and a personal energy that, and when I have a client in front of me, is that I reckon that the right way to be is to, if you have anything to say, is let's have it about ourselves, or let's have it in a very positive, wonderful way about people that we might be speaking at. I reckon it's a real waste of time, energy, and not good energetically to speak of people in an ill way. So I think a lot of people waste time, are unproductive, because they get locked into what he's doing or what he shouldn't be doing, what she's doing, and they become persecutors, essentially. That's one of the drama pieces.
Yep.
Or they can get stuck in yesterday. They, when you look at, what happened yesterday, what happened. So for me, the little kind of way I try to hold myself accountable is go, what's happening right now? And you got to do a bit of work on this stuff. I mean, I meditate, I do a 3-hour morning routine. So, I've done that for 15 years. I'm still Botox free. I'm 51, so I think I'm doing all right. But I reckon that's, apart from my mother having really good skin, it's about, really looking after yourself from the inside out.
You don't have a lot of frown lines.
No.
Not like me. I've got a crease in the middle of my forehead.
I'm not saying I'm not going to have a few little injections one day, but at the moment I'm trying to hold on. But the point is productivity. So the second tip after staying out of drama with productivity is don't do low-value tasks. So, you've got a team around you. There's things that Domenic does that are high value for you, but there's things that you don't want to be doing or shouldn't be doing that you give to somebody else, and that becomes their high value task. Yeah. And so what we've got to always do is, most people pick up an item and they go, will I do that? The actual question that we should first ask is, will I not do that? And so then will I delete it? Will I say no to it? We say yes to too much. So it's about getting obsessed with that and saying, what is it? So I said yes to you because I love your energy, I love your mindset, I love your philosophy, and so I said, yeah. But I'm not going to say yes to everybody on a podcast, because my time, I'm so obsessed with time, and because why we want to be obsessed with time? Because time's all we've got. I finish all my work saying every minute counts and you can have it all. And if you can truly be so respectful of your own time, you're going to be respectful for others. And you can hear my voice again. I'm on one of my excited kind of energy rants.
You're in flow.
But I'm in flow. But, I really feel passionate about this. Is people. So it's not too hard to get people to stay out of drama. It's not too hard to get them to work at their values. Where people fail is on productivity. So that's where we've really got to go to work with almost doing the freeze test. Anything that we touch, so this is a tip, anything that we touch is we've got to say, is what I'm doing now aligned with my values? And should I be doing it? But should I really be not doing it? And then to work that through. There's a lot of other tips on productivity, but that'd be my main ones.
And everything you're discussing there just reminds me of Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week.
Yeah.
Focus on the critical task, things that are adding the most value to your organisation, and what can I do or pass on to someone else.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your current book? I don't know much about it. Tell us about True Believers and how that works, and what the...
A true believer is someone that has a lot of belief, conviction, and commitment. And the thing about belief is not always essential to success in the beginning. It's actually having the courage to walk forward in the face of self-doubt. So I reckon that the quality of a true believer is someone that's courageous. You spoke about that before. Is courageous to leave something that's not working, courageous to put yourself a little bit at risk, courageous to invest in something that might be a little bit out there, because we're a product of our history. And so a true believer is someone that does have that courage to walk forward. As far as the conviction, is that when you really look after yourself and you're really aligned with your values, stuff that's not working is just going to fall off you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so for me, I've worked hard, like everybody, a lot of us, and I've worked really hard, and I haven't always pleased everybody in my life, because I've been aligned with my values. But guess what? Now, a great leadership, whether it be we're a mum or whether it be, you don't have to be in business to be a great leader, whether you be a dad. Great leadership is when you walk forward with conviction, aligned with your values, and you look back and you go, oh, hi, are you following me? So to me, that's great leadership, instead of pulling people to you and trying to. So to me, the influence that we can have when we're a true believer. Look at some of the great true believers in history. Some of the great orators like Obama, Hillary Clinton, all of those incredible people that will command an audience with their conviction. Unfortunately, there's also some other people that have got into positions of big power globally right now that have a lot of conviction, and their conviction will sell people, and it might not necessarily always be the thing. So you've also got to be careful and to understand where conviction comes from with people. And then commitment. And commitment is just aligning with your values, being committed to that. And for me, when you see someone with lots of conviction, it's someone that is really clear on their why, as you said, Simon Sinek. There's a great psychologist called Carolyn Dweck, and she talks about...
Great book, Fixed in the Growth Mindsets,
100%, yeah. And so the thing is that many people will come to me and say, Christina, I'm not really good at that. I'm not really good at... I can't do a morning routine because I'm not good in the morning. I'm not really good at sales, so I couldn't possibly sell anything. And my parents were not investors in property or real estate or anything, so, I'm very conservative with that. And I say, okay... the key there is to know that the brain, as you talked about, the brain has the ability to change and to grow. And so if we get rid of that old, really self-sabotage, or that old thinking, or that old excuses, and we go, no, actually, today I can make the decision. It's like my kids, right? My daughter wants to say, Mum, I'm not good at school. I'm not going to do well. And I say, sweetheart, let's look at the things that you love and the things that you want to focus on, and let's just change that thinking, because you can actually go do really, really. She's just actually passed. So she's just spent the last. I'm proud mum moment here.
Yeah.
Mum moment. She's just finished. I'm quite excited, and I get a little bit emotional with things sometimes, but I'm not going to get emotional today. But she's just finished 2 years study, and so she's now an interior designer. And what I'm really proud about with her and as with others is when someone decides what they really value, what they love, and they follow that passion. As a thought leader's partner, our mantra is do work you love with people that you love the way that you want. And I'm just so excited that my kids are actually doing stuff that they want. So with Isabella, with the fixed mindset, she went, oh, Mum, I'm not good at school. I'm not going to be able to do that. Oh, Mum, I'm just going to have to get a job. And I said, sweetheart, Carolyn Dweck says, kids don't care when I say stuff like that, but you've got to, start really, what do you love, Izzy? What do you want to do, sweetheart? And then she went and she's done this, and now she's going to have a more successful career. And that creates greater wealth, doesn't it? So a true believer has this amazing, almost infectious quality where they attract people with their energy. And like all of us, we are still prone to the peaks and valleys of life. And so, a couple of times a year, I will have times of self-doubt, times of questioning myself, am I good enough? Can I do this? Oh my gosh, I've had a lot of that over my lifetime. And so, there's things that we've got to do, all the things we've talked about today that help us to have that better mindset to drag us out of that. We've all had that, right?
Yep.
And
it's a daily practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a daily practice. Why we read, it's why we listen to podcasts, why we do all that, to remind ourselves to build better tools and accountability in our own mind. Yeah. So let me ask you, we're nearing the end of the show. I'm sorry to keep you for so long.
Oh, I love it.
So tell me, what does being wealthy mean to you?
Well, you know what? I believe that that money is no guarantee for fulfillment. And so I believe once we're aware of that, I believe it's also important to know that it's really, really, really difficult to be fulfilled when we're struggling around money. So for me, what wealth means is that we have, we look around us and we have peace because we're not struggling around money. We have joy, so we're enjoying the fruits of our labour. We're enjoying the great holidays, the the clean, comfy car, the beautiful home that is mortgage free. We're enjoying, going to a nice restaurant, not having to look at the price. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so the joy piece and love, because you know what? If we are struggling and financially, and we don't have the wealth, and we don't have time to spend with the people that matter, there's not going to be love in our lives. No. And so it's really, really important. And then the final one is freedom in every single way. So for me, wealth is about really working and walking towards the path of peace, joy, love, and freedom.
Love it. And what would be your top piece of advice for someone who wants to be wealthy?
I reckon I'm going to give you my 4 Ds. Okay, so there's 4 Ds. It's easy to remember, yeah? So I reckon that you make a decision. That's number D. That's the first D. Make a decision about what you want next, so what you want to create. And I reckon that if you don't have financial intelligence, it should be the decision to get some advice on how to be financially intelligent. That's number 1. The second D is direction. And that's about making a decision to go in a direction aligned with your values. Yep. And so I love vision boards, like doing a nice vision board and putting sort of some things on the vision board, a healthy you, love and maybe the house that you want to buy, and is it by the water, is it in the bush, where is it? So that's the direction. You can see I'm excited now. I'm getting all excited.
You're visualizing. I can see your house in your mind.
Oh my God. And the third D is discipline. So that's when, like you said before, I love what you said. It's like kind of like, whether we want to do something or not, sometimes we're actually going to have to do things that are a little bit uncomfortable and be courageous. So that's what discipline is.
Yep.
And the fourth and final D is destination.
Okay.
Is to really, really, to actually get to the destination that you want this lifetime. Don't end your life in regrets, as Bronnie Ware would say. Don't be miserable, and to be happy today. So there is a today destination. Every single day, every day I actually wake up, and this is going to sound a little bit kind of next level, but every day I wake up and go, you know what, I'm making a decision that this is going to be the best day of my life. So I just broke my foot. So I was dancing 9.5 weeks ago, and I was having the best day of my life. I'm 5'4", the ceiling was low, I was on a boat on Sydney Harbour, I had 100 friends around me, and I was jumping like a crazy woman. Because I thought, oh my God, look at me, I'm so young, I'm jumping. I broke my foot. I broke the 4th and the 5th metatarsal. I've only just come out of a wheelchair. And I had so many people say to me, you're not depressed? And I went, why am I depressed? I don't have cancer. I'm happy. I said it's a little bit annoying. Like it's kind of everything's so bloody slow, but I'm learning stuff through it. So I just started to take the high road, and that's what I want to encourage people to do, is to always be grateful and to see, what it is in every day that you could be, happy and grateful for, and to build on that for your future destination.
Love it. Love the 4 Ds. And aside from your own 2 books, what is the most, what book do you hand out or tell people about the most?
Yeah. I have been handing a lot of a book that some of my colleagues, Matt Church, Peter Cook and Scott Stein wrote, called Thought Leaders Practice.
Is that the book you handed me upstairs?
I did. It's
2
fantastic.
of them?
Yeah. You've got a lot of reading to do.
Yeah, I do.
But why not? So that book is incredible because it helps you to basically do what I did. I'm very grateful for coming across the opportunity to sort of see. So a lot of us kind of are in a job or a role that we don't love, and we're on remote control. And you're a thought leader, clearly. What you're developing now and the work that you're writing, etc., is to be able to start extracting the expertise out. And guess what? You don't retire from this stuff. Whenever I hear someone that says, I'm really working hard to retire, and I think, well, that's really sad. Most people get sick after they retire. And so being a thought leader is someone, it is a labour of love, but it's someone that actually creates a lot of thinking. And essentially what we do is we solve people's problems that pay commercially. So we actually, we make a living from helping people. It's very fulfilling work.
Sounds wonderful and similar to what I do daily.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christina, thank you very much for coming on today. We unpacked so much. I hope everybody out there got a little bit of information out of the 2 of us sort of rambling on about the different books and learnings. I got to hear your life story, so thank you very much for that. And for any of you that want to reach Christina, where can they find you?
You'll probably just check out the website, and there's a contact page there. So it's just my name, ChristinaGuidotti.com. So yeah, happy to chat with anyone that wants a little bit more information about today. And thank you so much for the opportunity. I love to share messages and love to be around other true believers. So yeah, Domenic, I'm really grateful to have met you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you,
Yeah.
Christina.
Thank you.
Catch you all later.